I got another super chat. This one from Adrian Jones. Thank you for the super chat, Adrian Jones. Thank you once again for the super chat, Gally Sanford. Adrian Jones writes, what up, Louie? What in the hell are we going to do at running back? Does AP stay? Geis healthy? Gibson, Love? Great question. I was listening to the running backs coach, Randy Jordan. He's a great listen, by the way. He's a great soundbite. But listening to Randy Jordan talk, I've always said this all along about the running back position. It's, to me, the most intriguing position that the Redskins have. It may ultimately be the best and deepest position that they have. Not a lot of people are giving this group a lot of credit, and that's just about across the board, every position for this football team. Outside of the defensive line, no one's giving any of our positional groups any credit. I can understand receiver. I can understand tight end, cornerback. These are all positions that are causes for concern for us as fans. Offensive line, especially the tackle position, especially the left side of the line. These are all causes for concern as fans of the team. So on the outside looking in, those positions, I totally understand. Hell, you can throw quarterback in there. We don't know what Dwayne's going to be. We feel like, some of us do, that we feel like Dwayne's going to be a stud. But, he hasn't shown it. It's not a big enough sample size. And even us, the most staunch Dwayne supporters, can't take the small sample size that we saw at the end of the season when he was balling and say, hey, we're going to extrapolate that over 16 games. Dwayne's the man, and we're ready to rock and roll. You still got to see it. So I understand a lot of the conversation surrounding this team about how we're not any good and we're this group of players is ranked 32nd. This group is ranked 29th. This group is ranked 26th. When I saw the running back group, when I saw a list ranking them 26th in the league, I just looked at it and I said, that's not right. But I understand, because when you start looking at it, you're talking about a 35-year-old Adrian Peterson. You're talking about a running back, a third-year back in Darius Geis that hasn't been healthy, hasn't even played in 5 NFL games yet. Think about that. 2 full seasons, hasn't even played in 5 NFL games yet. Think about that. Let that marinate for a second. Then you're talking about a rookie in Antonio Gibson. You're talking about a second-year player in Bryce Love that hasn't seen the field. Was Bryce Love 2018 draft or 2019 draft? Bryce Love was the I keep feeling like he was 2018. Like, I think he just sat out 1 whole season. I feel like it's been 2 years and Bryce Love hasn't played a game in 2 years and he's going into his 3rd season. I don't even know where we're at with Bryce Love. Just know he hasn't played in the game either. Okay, so I get it. But when you talk about talent, there's so much talent at the running back position. And I didn't even mention your Peyton Barber, who's a veteran, not going to make the team. I told you, if we're healthy, he's not going to make this team. But if somebody goes down, you got a Peyton Barber. That's a really nice insurance policy to have in a Peyton Barber. And then you also got J.D. McKissick, who I think is going to make this football team. I think the Redskins are going to keep 5 running backs when it's all said and done because of the versatility that J.D. McKissick brings and Antonio Gibson brings. I think these are guys that they're irreplaceable because of what they can do, because of how you can line them up. Antonio Gibson is a guy that's going to play everywhere. He's going to play at wide receiver. He's going to play at running back. They're going to move him around. You can do the same thing with J.D. McKissick. So if something were to happen to Antonio Gibson, knock on a little wood, you're not going to feel like it's the end-all, be-all. And I always equate a guy like Antonio Gibson to Jordan Reed and how Jay Gruden used to be screwed every single week because he would plan on Jordan Reed playing and he would put together this little portion of plays, about 10 to 15 plays that he wanted to get to. It was his Jordan Reed portion of his playbook, and he would install all of these plays during the course of the week during practice and in hopes and in preparation that Jordan Reed was going to play, and then he'd find out on Friday or he'd find out on Saturday Jordan can't go, and then all of the things that you've been working on all week, you got to scrap. That's tough when you're a coach. So now, when you got a guy like Antonio Gibson and you're setting up all these different plays and ways to get him involved, if something were to happen to Antonio Gibson later on in the week or you realize he can't go, all you got to do is insert a guy like J.D. McKissick, and that's why it's important to keep a guy like J.D. McKissick on the roster. So I just don't see them moving on from J.D. McKissick either. So I think they're going to keep 5 backs this year. I think it's a very talented group. I think AD is still going to be your starter week 1, but I really, truly think that Geis is going to push him. And if Darius Geis is healthy, he turns into your bell cow. He turns into the guy that may get 20 carries. Now, I will tell you this. They're going to go with the guy with the hot hand. So if they get into a situation and if you're a Redskins fan, you should be hoping that this is a team that starts to get leads, are able to get on top of teams, and it allows us to run the football. Like, I envision us playing from behind a lot in 2020. I can't speak for you, but I think we're going to be playing from behind, so that means we're probably going to be relying less on the run and a little bit more on the pass side. But if we are able to get off to good starts in games and remain balanced, and we're able to jump out to some leads, you would love to see a situation where there's enough carries to go around. But make no mistake about it, and they've already said this. I've heard from Scott Turner. I've heard from, Randy Jordan and other guys. The guy with the hot hand, they're going to ride that guy. And you see that around the league now. You've got all these backs by committee, but if a guy gets hot, and you see it in Green Bay, you see it in Minnesota, when a guy gets hot, if he's playing well, you just continue to ride that guy for a little while. So, it could be a game where Geis gets 18 carries and AD only gets 9. And then the next game, AD could get 19 carries and Geis only ends up with 6 carries. I don't think that's going to take place. But again, it's all going to be dependent upon his health, him being Darius Geis. He's got to stay healthy. I feel like he would take over the mantle as the number 1 lead back. If he's healthy, he's got to stay healthy. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show as well. But to me, that's how the pecking order with your every down, not every down, your first and second down backs are concerned. Because I view Darius Geis as a first and second down back, even though you hear the coaches talk about how he can do a lot of things. He can catch it out of the backfield, this, that, and the third. They got guys for that. I don't think that's something they're going to ask Darius Geis. But when you listen to Randy Jordan, and I'm going to talk about that again when we get to the Coach Speak segment, Randy Jordan spoke about how all of these backs are capable. They're going to ask them to do everything, right? Everyone's going to be responsible for knowing how to do everything. And this is the way it should be done. Now, what he specifically said, though, is that we're not going to put guys in positions that they're not comfortable in. They still need to know how to do it just in case they end up in the game in that particular situation. Say an injury or two happens and we don't have any choice but to put you in that particular situation. You still need to be aware of what you are responsible for on that play, even though you may not be the strongest at it. For an example, AD is not supposed to be running a Texas route. And a Texas route is simply an arrow route. All right, so that's when you essentially set up a linebacker by running hard as if you're running into the flats, stick your foot in the ground, and run straight over the middle of the football field, right in the line of vision of the quarterback, and he's supposed to get it to you. We see guys like Alvin Kamara, and we've seen LaShawn McCoy and guys like that win on the arrow route for years, killing guys over the middle of the football field. Hell, Chris Thompson used to do it for us on a daily, all right? On a weekly basis, he would break off a dude and leave him at the post or leave him at the corner route and go to the post right over the middle of the football field, and Kirk would get it to him. So that's not what Adrian Peterson is supposed to be doing, especially at this advanced age of his career. But if he still needs to know how to do it, and if he's pressed into action in that particular situation, they need him to be able to carry that out. Even if they're not looking to get him the football, it's his responsibility to run that route correctly because he's going to dictate some coverage. And they need him to suck up that linebacker in the middle of the field, so maybe that opens up a dig route behind it, things like that. So the beauty of what we have at the running back position is that we've got guys for everything. We've got first and second down backs. We've got guys that can catch it out of the backfield. We've got multifaceted guys that can stretch you to the outside, to the perimeter, and speed guys. We got guys that can run it up in between the tackles. We got guys that can do a little bit of both. So there's some diversity in our running back group that a lot of teams lack. And so I love what we have. Again, it's all about health. Bryce Love hasn't been healthy. Darius Geis hasn't been healthy. Antonio Gibson, unproven. J.D. McKissick hasn't been healthy. These are all things that when you look at the Redskins running back group, you have to say to yourself, okay, I understand why there's some apprehension to give this group any credit and acknowledge that there is talent here. But at the end of the day, there is talent here. And I'm excited about this group, maybe more so than any other group on the offensive side of the football. And so when you talk about the running back position, I think it starts with AD because he's the most reliable of the group. And then you go to Geis, and I think they want to pass that torch to Darius Geis. Jay Gruden wanted to pass. Remember, Gruden benched AD week 1 last year versus the Eagles. Why? He wanted to pass the torch to Darius Geis. But Geis has to stay healthy in order to receive that baton. Like, AD is going to run that first lap around. He's going to run that first leg of this race. He wants to hand that baton to Darius Geis. Geis has got to be healthy enough, not holding his hamstring, not holding his meniscus, not holding his ACL. He's got to have his hand out backwards like this, waiting for the baton that Adrian's running, trying to hand to him, and he's got to take it and run with it and never look back. And that's what we're hoping for as Redskins fans. So when I look at the running back position, I think you're keeping 5. I think this is a group that keeps 5, and I think all of these guys in some way, shape, or form are going to be able to contribute on this football team. And you know the running back position is usually a war of attrition anyway. So you want to be locked and stocked at that position because injuries happen at that position more so than any other position in football. And so you need guys that can come in and step up as replacements. And that's the beauty of this roster this year is we're not there yet, but I feel like there's more depth on this roster. And this is the thing. We don't have enough blue chip players. We don't have enough 5-star players. That's why we didn't have anybody on the top 100. We don't have enough of those guys that are household names outside of our fan base or even our division. However, we've got a lot more depth. When you talk about this roster, you say, hey, if this guy goes down, we got another guy that we can plug in. And this is really the first time we've been able to say that. And that's what free agency, I know a lot of you were disappointed with free agency. Not enough household names, not enough big cash ticket items that the Redskins purchased. But what they did do was they built up a bank in terms of their roster. They built up a bank that's going to allow them to withstand injuries a little bit better than they have in the past. Okay, so if a guy goes down at the linebacker position, we've got plenty of linebackers this year. If a guy goes down at corner, you may not want to see Greg Stroman in the game, but guess what? Greg Stroman is coming into the game. All right, you may not want to see Aaron Colvin in the game, but guess what? Aaron Colvin's coming into the game, and I like Aaron Colvin a lot more than a lot of you do out there. So there's depth on this football team. You may not like it, you may not love it, but it's depth. Better than we've had in the past where we've had to go scrape practice squad guys off the practice squad or scrape, guys off the street and bring them in to play meaningful snaps for this team. We've actually got depth. Will it last is the question. You know the story there, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show as well. Thank you for the super chat, Adrian Jones.
Louie.